Yo guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be 10 more of my favorite thrift finds or secondhand finds. I know people get pretty finicky on the terms, but thrift finds. Now originally I had a more in-depth video essay planned for this week, but that is taking a ridiculous amount of work. I've spent probably 2.5 or 3 weeks on it already. So getting all the proper information together, piecing together the storyline, just making it all make sense is what's been so difficult, so you guys will have that one in the next 2 weeks. But in the meantime, I didn't want to starve the people, so I decided to put one of these together, showcase a few more of my pieces that maybe I've worn in videos and haven't talked about, or different things like that. Anyway, enough jabbering, let's get to the pieces. So the first piece I brought to talk about is actually a pretty rare item. This is a 1996 to 98 Rage Against the Machine bootleg tee. Now, part of the reason why this is so rare is because I honestly just haven't seen very many, and I don't know when exactly it's from or where it's from. Now, we do know that the image right here is from the cover of an alternative press magazine in June or July of 1996. I believe it's June, but the exact origins of the shirt still remain unknown. This was actually a chase tee of mine that I had for a while. One of the locals from the Bay Area found one a few months ago, and I actually started to look for one but didn't have very much luck. A couple of months ago I was doing a trade with another local, and they actually brought one over and offered it to me, but there was other pieces that I wanted, so I passed on it at the time. Fast forward a couple more months and I'm doing my interview with YUNGTABASCO, and he pulls out 2 of these. And I decided to buy the cropped one from him. I got it for 50 bucks, put it on top of another shirt, and the rest is history. Part of the reason why this shirt is so cool to me is because it's not very often one of your chase pieces is found by a local and you just get to get it from one of your friends. I think that's super cool, and it adds a lot to the value of this shirt for me personally. So my next shirt is another extremely rare shirt, and it's one I feel like people know, but they don't really know much of the history behind this shirt. And that's the 1991 to 92 Pearl Jam Music for Rhinos tee. Now, there's a couple of different versions of this t-shirt. There's a long sleeve, there's the Europe tour version, there's, I believe, at least 4 or 5 different variants of the Music for Rhinos. And 10 itself and their tour, subsequently, had a ton of tees come out of it. But one thing that's really cool about this particular version to me is not only is it the first iteration of the Music for Rhinos tee, but it's also one of the very first Pearl Jam shirts ever made, as far as I can tell. You see, around 1991, both the Pearl Jam Jeff the Killer tee and Music for Rhinos tee were made around the same time as a pair. They are some of the earliest graphics associated with the band, as Music for Rhinos was seen as something that was on, I believe, one of their early promos or demos or something like that. I'll put more information right here in the bubble. But yeah, this is a super sick shirt. It's in absolutely minty condition, and I just feel like not a lot of people realize how significant this tee is in the band's history. This next tee is a personal favorite, and it's one that I've seen gain immense value over the last year or so. I got this one for 60 bucks on eBay auctions a year ago. I guess people didn't really know how to authenticate it without the tag, but obviously sure it was on the Giant by Toll tags. But this is a 1992 to 93 NIRVANA SMILEY tee. As you guys probably saw from my SMILEY video, this is one of the most iconic graphics of all time. So for me, owning an original print of this was something that I wanted to do from the moment I stepped into vintage. Especially once I learned that the original print used to have a back hit on it. Just the attitude of this shirt. You know, a lot of people would definitely say that this tee is kind of a symbol of Nirvana selling out, or however the story would play out after Kurt died. But part of the significance of this version to me is the back hit. I feel like it completely changes the meaning of the piece, and it kind of gives a giant slap in the face to the commercialized image that is the smiley. If you watched my SMILEY video, you probably remember me saying that the smiley was already a huge staple in many aspects of pop culture at this time. This should come as a surprise to none, but having a super commercialized or capitalist piece of imagery with an anti-capitalist statement on the back is really funny tongue-in-cheek statement. So this next piece is one of my original chase pieces and one of the pieces that I probably spent the most work getting. It's also the first piece that I just plainly paid what I thought was market price for. This is a 1999 Slipknot self-titled tee. To say that this is one of the most influential albums of all time would definitely be an understatement. I feel like you don't hear a single metal band today that doesn't have a twinge of Slipknot in them. And that's for better or worse. Slipknot may be a hollow shadow of what they used to be, being that they've completely sold out their catalog, disgraced band members, whatever have you over time. This era of Slipknot was a completely different era. This is where Joey Jordison and Paul Gray still had a lot of creative control over what the band was making and what they were putting out. I mean, this graphic itself is really a symbol of how far the band came. All of these suits were bought with pieces they got from Halloween stores, and I believe this is Sid's mom's garage in the background. So having a piece from this early in the band's career, a promo tee from their self-titled album, although it's not the rarest piece in the world, it's definitely one of my favorites, and one I wear all the time. Plus, we can't skip over the fact that this has an absolutely beautiful, even gray smoky fade. Okay, so this next piece is actually a personal local find. This is one that I found at a thrift store that was down the street from where I was living a few months ago. This is a 1991 Metallica 5-album run all-over print by Brocco. When I first was shown this shirt, when I first got into vintage, I didn't know how I felt about it because of how loud it was and how much was going on, but over time it's just become one of my favorite pieces ever. You know, I don't listen to as much Metallica as I used to. They were one of the access metal bands for me when I was a kid. But I'd be lying if I said I felt like the loudness and exorbitance of this piece didn't kind of somewhat fit the Metallica vibe a little bit. It's just super all over the place. It's like they're all thrashed onto there or something. One thing that's really cool for me about this print is this front side is just starting to get a little bit of cracking and wear. But this back side is pretty much in perfect condition. I think that's really interesting. You don't see that very often. But yeah, 40 bucks from some dude who knew what it was, but I told him I'm giving you what eBay says it's worth, and we struck a little bit of a deal. Okay, so these next pieces are really personally special finds. So these are both items that were given to me by my grandmother before she unfortunately passed away earlier this year. They belonged to my grandfather for years. He was the original owner, and they just kind of sat in the closet from about 2013 to 2024 or so. And before that, I'm not even certain how long they were sitting for, so it's not even right to put a number on it. But I'm sure, judging by the age of the pieces, you can come to a conclusion yourself. The first one I'd like to show is a 1993 Led Zeppelin tee. This is absolutely the most beautiful Led Zeppelin shirt I've ever looked at in my life. It's gorgeous. That gold print with the red in the background. It's a 1993 Winterland licensed Rock Express, and just the condition on this thing is wonderful. It's starting to fade nicely, but also the graphic is so heavy that it's starting to tear the fabric apart in certain sections. This tee came with a sister tee that I actually gave to my guitarist, one of my best friends, and I really love this shirt. I don't wear it all the time, but it's one that I always will keep in my closet, and I wear whenever I feel like popping out with something really special. So it's not very often that you get one of your family's band tees from 30 years ago, especially in such a nice wearable condition. Very happy to have it. Now the other piece I got from my grandmother is a 1996 Marciano guest coat. Now many don't know, but up until 1993, the Guess company was ran by 3 or 4 brothers, I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but it was ran by a group of brothers. One of them's named Georges Marciano. Now, when we're just gonna call him George because I really don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm too plain for that. Now, when George was with the company, one thing he really prioritized was quality control. He wanted shirts to be sold in like Bloomingdale's and stuff, and pieces to be in really nice department stores. But The other guys kind of just wanted to make cheap clothes that look nice and sell them in Sears and things like that. And eventually they would win. However, they didn't win on one thing, and that's quality compromise. I mean, these things are built like absolute tanks. This thing is in shambles, and I've repaired the back already, and it still functions just fine. It is pretty cool to have a coat that was worn in so much and so distressed by one of my personal family members. I feel like wearing it myself, it's in a way continuing the family heritage or something. But yeah, it's a super great coat. I get compliments on it all the time. Absolutely love this one. This next item is one of the rarest items I've ever owned. And I feel like I say that a lot, but this genuinely is one of the rarest items I've ever owned, probably will ever own, and probably will ever see. This is a 1999 Bathing Ape Soldier crew neck sweatshirt. So back when Bape was founded in 1993, Nigo sold his brand to many different stores across Asia. You could get Bape pretty much anywhere. Any little design shop or streetwear store, anything like that, you would probably be able to get your hands on something. However, around 1998, 1999, Nigo started toying with the decision to move everything straight to the flagship in Harajuku. He wanted nothing coming out of anywhere else. So while you see a pretty decent amount of 93 through 97 Bape stuff, especially like 96 to 97 era on the market, finding things from like 98 to 2001 is extremely hard, because this is when he was purposefully cutting down the numbers, focusing on quality, and keeping everything out of the flagship. Now, while many brands try to do this artificial scarcity thing today, Nigo was trying to do less of that and give more of an exclusivity. He wanted his store to be unique. He wanted his store to be the only place in the world you could get a Bathing Ape products. And that would remain true for years until they opened the other flagship stores up. I've never really seen another authentic version of this hoodie around. I've seen one that I suspect to be fake, but I mean, I can't really prove that, and sure, it may be real. But even if it is real, I've only seen 2 of these in my entire time of collecting, hunting, looking for everything, even online. So this is an extremely rare piece. Something I don't know if I'll ever get my hands on again. Don't plan on getting rid of it anytime soon. Alright, so we are down to the last 3 items. And for number 3, I'm gonna start with the last t-shirt on this list. This is a 1998 Tool Enema Parking Lot bootleg. And oh my god, what a fucking back hit. I've never seen another version of this specific shirt around. I've seen other ones that say Tool F and Tool on the back and they have other front hits, but this specific one is actually made from both a license print and another bootleg tee. It is truly a bootleg's bootleg. I have actually been able to track down people that have seen this shirt before, people that have owned this in the past, people that saw it at the Tool shows when they went. So I've been able to verify that the shirt even existed. And obviously by telling, I mean, it's pretty hard to replicate this kind of distressing unnaturally. But anyway, this was picked up at a local vintage market about 2 years ago for like $130 or something like that. I got it from my friend for the same price. Yeah, I remember when he found this shirt too. It was pretty insane. And yeah, this is one of those tees that I've had I've had many people try to pick this one up, but I'll never sell it. It's simply my favorite album of all time, and it's the rarest shirt from this tour as far as I can tell. So I don't really think there's a number that someone could throw me that I'd be like, okay, that's fine. I mean, obviously if it's some life-changing money or whatever, but it's not really something I plan to sell or want to sell. It's something that I think is one of the centerpieces of my collection, and I hope to keep it here for a long time. A fucking blower. Okay, so now we're down to the last 2 items. And as stated before, these actually aren't tees, so let's get to it. So the second to last item is going to be a 45 RPM single Rage Against the Machine's No Shelter. This was something that my girlfriend actually bought for me for Christmas this last season, and it's probably the greatest present anyone's ever bought me. I mean, this is an absolutely fantastic song. The cover art is so beautiful, and to top it off, it's a red color vinyl. I'm not sure if all of them were this color or if there is a black version, but it's still super sick either way. I have heard it spin all the way through. It sounds fantastic. A little warped, so on some record players it doesn't play as well, but it's not that bad. A little bit of flattening and this thing will be in perfect condition, no issue. So No Shelter was actually a single that was produced for the Godzilla soundtrack. I don't know if it was made first and then used for Godzilla, or if they were commissioned to make a song for Godzilla, but it's really funny because leave it to Rage Against the Machine to write an anti-capitalist song for a movie. I just think it's hilarious. I mean, the whole song is about how we buy things and we use things as distractions in order to prevent us from moving forward in the system. But yeah, absolutely one of my favorite Rage songs, so it's super cool to have this single. And to top it off, I don't know how well you can see it right now, I'll do a closer zoom, but it came with this Evil Empire postcard. I don't know if that originally came with the single or if that was just in there, but it was in there when we bought it. Shout out YUNGTABASCO, thank you so much, brother. So this last piece I kind of had to move around the camera to get, but this is a probably early mid 90s NIRVANA Kurt Cobain poster. So this was a gift from a couple of our friends that lived in Ukraine. Shout out Yuri. He bought I believe a whole collection from some German collector. And a lot of what was in there was newspaper clippings and posters. There was a couple of items, there was a wallet. I mean, there was all sorts of just wonderful vintage Nirvana memorabilia. We do gift exchanges with these people. So every couple months we'll send them a box, they'll send us a box. We actually are gonna be getting one prepared to send in the next couple weeks or so probably. But this was one of the items they sent to us. I absolutely love this picture of Kurt, mainly because there's no memorial. It's just him. You know, I don't know if this poster was produced before he died. Maybe, I obviously know the picture was taken before he died, but I just don't really have very much information on it. I know it's extremely rare. I haven't seen another, and just a wonderful picture of Kurt. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, drop a like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. I plan on doing more of these 10 favorite items videos in the future just because I think they're really fun. I think they're a lighthearted way to show you guys more about my collection and maybe show you guys things that you can hunt for yourself. Anyway, that's all. Have a good one.